Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome.
If it's Friday, today with us we have Special Representative Elliott Abrams, our Special Representative for Venezuela. He has a few remarks for the top, and be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. I want to start by mentioning the announcement that Interim President Guaido made today about an agreement between the International Federation of the Red Cross and the Catholic Bishops, the Episcopal Conference in Venezuela, to try to get humanitarian aid into the country. The initial announcement said this would be health-related aid that would be provided to 650,000 Venezuelans. As you know, Guaido has been calling for this for weeks and weeks, and we in the United States made an effort to get aid in, most of it at Cucuta, Colombia, and the regime prevented it. The Red Cross has said that it will permit no interference with the distribution of the aid, which we think is great, because our problem with the Venezuelan regime in this area has been that it does not distribute aid on the basis of need. Rather, it politicizes the aid and gives it only to people who have a thing called the carne de la patria, which is to say they're supporters of the regime. So we thought that that was not the way the Venezuelan people were going to benefit. This looks like a real opportunity, and we think it is a response to the efforts that Interim President Guaido has been making. So it's very welcome. We hope it works, and assuming that it does, which we do, the United States would be happy to give some of our aid into this method of reaching the Venezuelan people, because that's the purpose of what we were doing in getting the aid nearer to Venezuela. I think the international community is more generally ready and anxious to do more to help the humanitarian situation in Venezuela. You may have seen some news reports about a new UN report on the internal humanitarian situation, which said, quote, preventable diseases such as tuberculosis, diphtheria, measles, and malaria have resurfaced in the country and are on the rise, as is hepatitis A due to the lack of access to safe drinking water. Now, obviously, the humanitarian aid that addresses the health situation isn't going to solve that question of clean water. That is partly related to the blackouts, and I should just mention, as you know, the blackouts have continued all over the country. The regime's efforts to, in a sense, to keep them out of Caracas have not been successful. They've had partial blackouts there, too. The electrical power system is simply in very bad shape because of the years and years of lack of maintenance, lack of investment, and the likelihood is that blackouts will continue. This aid is not going to solve the problems that Venezuelans face. The kind of aid that is needed for a broad recovery of the Venezuelan economy really cannot be put in place until the regime is replaced by a democratic government, when I think you'll see the international financial institutions and other donors really move in to try to help the people of Venezuela. I guess I'd mention one other thing as a start. I've been asked in the last day or so about the ruling by the regime that Juan Guaido cannot participate in Venezuelan politics for 15 years. That's consistent with the regime's efforts to eliminate all democratic voices and all opposition forces and voices in Venezuela. I don't imagine that Juan Guaido is deeply worried because the Maduro regime, while it might be around in 15 days, is not going to be around in 15 years. So it's a ludicrous effort on the part of the regime to keep Mr. Guaido quiet.